I'm afraid our little bell is not as loud and as booming as the one in Lower Hamlet, so apologies for that. Bowing, dear Thai, dear Sister Chan Kong, dear monastics, dear all and all the ancestors, a bow to you all. I'm Rahina, and my feet are on the part of the earth called England. I'm going to talk slowly to enable translations to happen in French and Spanish. So on behalf of Plum Village UK, Rainbow Ireland Sangha, and Buddhists across traditions, we acknowledge your commitment to peace building in this turbulent time. Peace begins here. This is the title of the book, culminated through deep listening retreats between Palestinian and Israeli people, with ties, tips of how to cultivate peace, compassion, and act in justice. It feels really apt today, in this time, to gather together with an event called Peace Begins Here. This event continues the many engaged actions for peace in the Plum Village community, locally and internationally. From engaged action letters calling for peace, to President Biden and Rishi Sunak, to peace sits and ceremonies. We are all activated differently with what is folding around us in these times. And we all may become caught up in our own views and pain. Our intention of this event is to hold the suffering of all sides, those impacted by the war in the Middle East, the suffering of the Palestinian people, the Israeli people, the pain of 11 wars happening around the world, the millions of people being killed and displaced through these wars and ongoing ecological disasters, and the pain and suffering of the hostages and the prisoners being held as a result of warfare. It is in these times that we look to our practice of mindfulness. We look with compassion and tenderness to cultivate peace in ourselves and generate peaceful actions in the world. These two are inextricably linked. We are so grateful that our teacher Thich Nhat Hanh has demonstrated through his own life and his engaged practice and teachings how to act ethically, non-violently, and justly in this world. Peace begins with ourselves. We are deeply grateful to the Plum Village monastics in encouraging us and holding us in this time and acting with us as a mindful bell of peace, touching the wisdom of peace within us all, offering us guidance so we can hold all views and practice so that we don't get caught up in our own dualistic thinking, or of seeing support for one side as being against the suffering of the other side. We humans have limitations because of our social, historic, and cultural conditioning and the local context in which we come from. This may emerge in our speech and language, which have the potential to cause harm, even unintentionally, especially in these heightened times. For any activation that our words have caused, please accept the apologies of the organizers. Please do what it takes to care for your body and emotions. Remember that our breath is a source of refuge and safety, and our feelings and judgments are also an opportunity for personal transformation and insight. So the flow of the event this evening is that I will shortly hand over to Lower Hamlet, to Brother Phap who will offer a Dharma share before the monastics offer a chant, after which we will have some Dharma wisdom from Sister Harmony, followed by meditation with Sister Luk Neem, potentially some more sharing, a song, and a close. Before I hand over to Brother Phap, please note that all the chat is muted in honor of this event. And the event, as you would have seen, is being recorded. If you have technical difficulties, please reach out to our beautiful Zoom volunteers, Tuan, Katie, Anna, through the chat. Please, we encourage you to keep your screen on or your video cameras on so we can cultivate the energy of community. You will also notice that it's not possible to show profile pictures if you stop your camera sharing. In the last recent times, we've had incidents of Zoom bombing. Should this happen today, I will guide you through the process while we all breathe and seek refuge in our breath. I bow to hand over to you, Brother Phap.
Dear respected Thai, dear beloved community, dear friends, thank you, Rahina, for your welcoming words to help us arrive in this moment. What a gift it is to all be together, to breathe together, and to offer our presence. In this very moment, I invite you to connect to your breath, to connect to your body, and allow our mindfulness to guide us to this present moment, to feel the emotions that are present, to hold what needs to be held, like a loving carer, mother, father, brother, sister. Let us embrace the feelings that are very present in this moment, whether it is pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant. Our practice is not to suppress, but our practice is to acknowledge, to embrace, and to understand it. Breathing in, I feel the sadness that is present. Breathing out, I smile. I am here, not just by myself, but with so many practitioners to hold this mindfulness of presence. And I guide my feelings and my emotions through mindful breathing so it can be grounded in this body, this collective body, in this present moment. As I breathe in, this in-breath generates inner peace, peace that is present. And I hold the hand of the feelings and emotions that are present. Breathing out, I embrace it with this energy of peace. Allowing ourselves to feel, to acknowledge, to embrace, to understand, so compassion in our heart can manifest. And dear friends, as student of Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, we know that our tradition was born from the mud of suffering from the wars, and our teacher with the aspiration of walking the path of compassion and nonviolence. He had to meditate. He had to look deeply in order to understand the pain and the suffering that are present. And these teachings that our teacher developed is so relevant today. In this moment, it may be very difficult for us to touch joy, to touch happiness, as we know the insight of interbeing, the pain and the death and the war is not just outside of us, but we also are affected by it. And it may be very difficult for us to even accept to be in peace in this moment. But as practitioner, it is so important for us to know how to come home to our present moment, wherever we may be, to our body, to feel the emotions, to feel the tension that are present. Hearing this news, I myself was very disturbed by the generational trauma that has also been transmitted to me. I felt pain, I felt violence, I felt a lot of anger, and a shared grief of humanity, that there is such wrong action in this moment. And I asked myself, what can I do? And when I come back to this moment, I also have to be in touch with the war and the conflict that is inside of me. And it is my responsibility to take care of the violence inside of me. It is my responsibility to embrace the pain so that I can generate understanding and compassion and a deep love for humanity and for our earth. The suffering is not an individual matter. The war is not an individual matter. So with our presence, our true presence of peace, there is an effect, there is an impact. We have to bring this inner peace to our own self, to our families, our communities, so we don't create more conflict where we are. So each and every one of us as practitioner, this is a bell of mindfulness for us to take refuge in the foundational practice, to truly walk with our anger, breathe with our sadness, our sorrow, so that we can transform the war, the conflict that is present in us. And collectively, if we do this, this is our contribution to the conflict, to the war. We may not be in those places, and we may take for granted what we have. If we don't know how to care and how to preserve this peace, more wars will break out, more anger will break out, more conflicts will break out. Our practice is to understand and to see the root of the suffering and the root of discrimination. And we can also acknowledge the discrimination in us that manifests by the collective pain. By practicing, we are being engaged in the present moment. We are engaged with the situation that arises. So when we show up at peace marches, at protests, to call for the stopping of bombing, of war, we are walking from the foundation of peace, of nonviolence, of love, and of compassion. I remember Tai always shared with us during his peace marches, he would be aware that there are other members joining, but their walk was not peaceful. And it is also generating a lot of anger. So as a practitioner, our voice is not just verbally or signs, but it is through our presence, through the cultivation of inner peace, through the cultivation of holding, of embracing our emotions. And when all of us do this collectively, a power of presence, a power of nonviolence becomes very loud. So I invite all of you to reflect on how we are caring for our own emotions and feelings and acknowledging the pain that is present. And what are we doing in our capacity as practitioners to transform the violence inside of us, the violence that we may be leaking out through our speech, through our thoughts, through our presence, through the way we open the door, the way we hold our cup of tea, the way we communicate. All of these mundane actions can be actions of peace. I remember Tai sharing with us that each and every one of us has this responsibility. If we have 5 minutes to be present, that 5 minutes should be to cultivate the insight that peace starts from within us. If we have 10 days, we invest in the 10 days. If we have 3 months, 5 years, 100 years, this is our contribution through body, speech, and mind. And our transformations become the transformation of the past, the present, and the future. So come home to the foundational practice in these moments, to hold our true presence, to embrace, to feel, and to generate the inner peace. In this session tonight, we will be chanting the name of Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara is a great being who has listened very deeply to the suffering. Listen with courage, to show up with courage. And through her presence, Avalokiteshvara was able to understand what is being said and what is not being said, to understand the sources of the conflict, the sources of the anger, of the division, of the wrong view, and to shine the light of mindfulness. When we come together and we generate compassion, this compassion, first and foremost, we allow that compassion to be present for us, our individual. we are also holding the world inside of us to have compassion and understanding for oneself. We may like to call the emotions that are present by its name and let the energy of compassion to embrace like a mother embracing a child. The love, the tenderness, the humanity that is in our hearts, we need to invoke it so that in us there is compassion. And this compassion is not wishful thinking. This compassion is not spiritual bypassing. This compassion is real. It is to understand and to feel. When we continue to chant the name of Avalokiteshvara, we may like to be aware of our loved ones that are around us, our community. There may be those who don't know how to listen to their suffering, to hold their pain. So we offer this energy of presence. We offer this energy of understanding, of mindfulness, of compassion to them. We may call them by their name. We invite them to be present in us. My dear friend, breathe with me through my breath. Listen with me through my ears. Sit with me in this position. And I generate this inner peace, this collective peace globally. I ascend it to them. By practicing like this, we see that our presence has an impact to the ones that we care for, that we hold in our hearts. And as we continue to chant, we may like to bring our mind consciousness collectively as a global Sangha to the place of conflict, to the war, where the killing, the injustice that is happening. In this moment, we are not separated, but we are connected with the pain. And by this collective energy, ours alone may not be enough, but collectively, we send this prayer of this light of peace, this light of presence, of mindfulness, of understanding, of love to our friends that are caught in this conflict, that are victim of wrong view, of discrimination. And we send this understanding, this love to these places. And this becomes our prayer. This becomes our action. Breathing in, I send the energy of compassion to myself. In myself, the world is present to touch the seed of love, to not forget the humanity that is present in us, in our community. Breathing out, I allow compassion to be present. Breathing in, I hold my loved ones, my community, my friends in my heart, I send them who are suffering this compassion, this understanding. Breathing out, compassion in myself, compassion to my loved ones. As we breathe in, we bring our collective mind consciousness to the darkest places in this present moment, tenderly, holding with courage, and breathing out, we send this collective mindfulness, collective nonviolence, collective compassion, understanding to all the places that war is happening. Our teacher has touched the insight of interbeing, that humans, men, is not our enemy, but it is the ignorance, it is the wrong view, it is the discrimination. And we don't see the other as humans, therefore we act in a way that brings so much pain and suffering. So let us who have this insight to invoke it, to channel it, to be it, so we can transmit this insight to ourselves, to our community, and to the world. I invite all of you at home, in the community, to sit comfortably, firmly on a cushion or on our sofa, on a chair, to sit upright, relaxingly, as we listen to the chant. And the chanting and the listeners become one. And together we generate this collective prayer. We call on our ancestors to guide us, to guide all of the friends, to guide all of humanity to an understanding that war is not the answer, that more destruction does not bring peace, and to truly give peace a chance to be present. I would like to invite our brothers, our sisters. Dear brothers, sisters, we will chant all together 3 times and then 3 times. Listen to my bell when we transition to the
Dear Phaphu, dear monastics, thank you for the introduction and the beautiful chant. I feel the energy of it moving through my body and that of my ancestors. I hope it feels the same for you too. So now I would like us to, or we be happy to now introduce Sister Tuan Nim, Sister Harmony. Sister Harmony will also be doing a Dharma share. She is one of the monastics who has recently returned from her Palestine and Israeli trip, which the monastics had undertaken a few weeks ago. So I'd like to hand over now to Sister Tuan Nim.
Good evening, dear Sangha. In mid-September, we four monastics from Plum Village, 2 brothers and 2 sisters, we went to Israel and Palestine for more than 3 weeks trip. So we started out in Israel with a retreat and day of mindfulness. And then we went to Palestine also for different activities for the Palestinians. Last day in Palestine, we're supposed to have a day of mindfulness, which is October 7th. So we have to cancel that day of mindfulness for the Palestinians and return to Israel. And we're supposed to fly home on October 9th, but we could not fly because the war was, it was a fighting. And we stay extra few days in Israel until we have our flight and flew home. So I should like to share a little bit about our experiences in Israel and in Palestine. How do we practice? How do we listen to the people? How we build brotherhood and sisterhood? Because during the trip, we have few events that we brought Palestinians and Israelis together to sit, to listen, to share together. When we have the retreat in Israel, there's some friends, they express their feelings and their anxiety to us in order to ask for advice and for guidance in order to practice. So one friend shared that she doesn't want to be a hateful person, but there's a lot of rage in her. So she asked, how do we practice with that kind of rage and feeling pressure all the time? And so during the retreat, we offer, even though it's only 4 monastics, but we offer chant every day before the Dharma talk. And while you just listen to the chant that the brothers and sisters share, chanted a few minutes ago, somehow people can receive that energy of compassion, embracing, of healing, of peace. And tearfully, they told us that please offer the chant to us before the Dharma talk every day. We have very short retreat. We have on a 4-day retreat. We'll try our best to offer our chant, our present, our mindfulness, our togetherness, in order to have people to be in the retreat and to touch peace and to touch that healing energy in the retreat. And so from that experience, when I return to Plum Village, every Sunday when we have the day of mindfulness, I chant wholeheartedly, because I know how people receive that energy from the monastics. Because when we are together collectively, we can generate this very, very healing energy. And people from everywhere, online, in Upper Hamlet, in Lower Hamlet, or in New Hamlet, when we host that day of mindfulness, people can really get in touch with that peace, with that solidity in each one of us. So one afternoon, Israeli Sangha organized an event in Palestine with Palestinians friends. And so one friend in particular, his name is Isa Suf. He was shot in 2000, in the year 2000, or even before that. And he was paralyzed. He's paralyzed. So he had to sit on a wheelchair. So in the year 2003, Israelis and Palestinians organized a trip together to Plum Village to have that retreat with our teacher, Thay. And so Isa also was in Plum Village during that time. And so when he invited us to the valley, I kind of don't remember the name of that town, to see for ourselves the difficulties, the suffering that they have to endure. And so when we arrive at the place, we see that on the hillside, on the top of the hill, there is buildings of houses for the Israeli settlers. And in the valley, there's water running from the mountain. And Isa said that in springtime, this is very beautiful because there's so many wildflowers will bloom. And so in the past, Palestinians will go there to enjoy a picnic. But it's getting harder and harder for them to get to the valley because of the conflict that they have. And so they want us to see it. And so when we were there, there's many Israeli settlers moving around. They enjoy their picnic with their family also. But they went to the picnic with the machine gun. And so when I got out of the car, I saw one Israeli settler carry his baby in one hand, and on the other shoulder, there's a machine gun. And so Isa explained to us the history of the place and what is happening right now. And so one of the friends in the group would ask him, do you hate these settlers? And right at that moment when the question was asked, one Israeli settler just passing by behind Isa. And he heard that question, he stopped. And he stood behind Isa. And Isa did not know that there's an Israeli settler behind him. And so he started sharing. He said that, I don't hate them. What I need to work with is to mobilize, to campaign for international friends and community to be aware of our situation. What I need to work is to work against the system or the government that sent them here and not the settlers. And in him, I see that it radiates out a lot of peace and a lot of groundedness. He's very calm. He's very centered. And when he shares things, he shares in a very normal tone of voice, with not with a lot of emotion or hatred in his voice. And so I think that is one of the things that impressed me most. And I think he benefited from the retreat in Plum Village in the year 2003. And when he learned from our teacher that our enemy is not man. Our enemy is the violence, the injustice, the institution, the system that create suffering, suffocating people. And I see that is a real, I see with my own eyes the situation and the people in setting, how do they live their life, how they practice, because right after that valley, visiting that valley, we went back to Isa's house and we have sharing and listening for the whole afternoon. And he shared that since he came back from Plum Village, he continued to practice with Sangha, to sit together, to hold the energy of mindfulness together. And that's how it helped him to have the strength to continue his work. He said, I choose not to use violence for my struggle, but I would use non-violence for my struggle, for my people. And his wife also shared that when she, one day she left home, she drove a car and she got shot four times in his car, in her car. But luckily she survived. And she shared that, I never know in the morning when I leave my house that I will come back in the evening with my family. So seeing with my own eyes, the stress, the pain, the violence, the suffering that people live, it really, really gave me a lot of strength to continue to cultivate the energy of mindfulness, of peace in myself, in the community. And luckily, we have retreats and events for more than 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, smoothly before the war. And then the last day of mindfulness, the war broke out. And so we really tried to get back to Israel. We have a lot of support and care from Israeli Sangha and friends. They directed us and guided us to get back safely. And when we stay there extra few days, we receive a lot of invitations for us to share. And right after the war broke out, 2 nights later, we have an evening sitting with the local Sangha in a place we call Oasis of Peace, Nevi Shalom. In that place, a very, very special place. It started out 40 years ago with about 8 families. And one of them is our lay Dharma teacher, Dorit. Now in that village, they have about 150 families. And they are both Israelis and Palestinians. They live together in that village. And the children will go to the school together. They will learn their own language, but they will study together. And so they live together. And so in that evening, when we have the sitting with the local Sangha, we have a Palestinian woman who was born in Israel. So she speaks perfect Hebrew. We also have, of course, Israeli Sangha members. And obviously, everybody was so shaking, so sad, and so worried because the war just broke out 2 days before. And so we hold that place together. We do some deep relaxation. We did slow walking. And then I share a little bit, and then we open up for people to share. And so one lady shared that for the last 2 days, I could not stop myself from thinking and worrying. And as you know, Hamas took the hostages to the Gaza. And so many people, they have their relatives, and they were so worried and concerned about the safety of their loved ones. And so this lady, she said that for the last 2 days, I could not stop thinking, I could not sleep, I could not eat. I was so stressful and I was so worried. But this evening, when I learned to walk one step with one breath, and aware of the shifting of my body weight when I make one step from left foot to the right foot, I was able to be with my body, to be with my footstep, and to be with my whole body. And for a moment, I feel I can let go of my worries and my sadness. And I really, really see the power of the Sangha when we are together, when we can really hold each other in a very, very difficult moments. And then also the Palestinian Israeli born share that I dare not leave the village because I do not know that I am safe elsewhere outside of this village. But in that sharing, that setting, that impressed me most is people can really talk about their feelings without accusing or blaming anything. But they really talk about, really trouble them. And they listen to each other. Even though the war was raging, with fighting every day. But as a Sangha, people can really hold each other and can really listen and can really embrace each other. I find that it's very, very beautiful and very powerful. For me, during that time, that the 4 or 5 days that we stay in Nevi Shalom, it relatively we were very safe because the host said that we have the shelter nearby, so whenever we have the siren, we go to the shelter. But I can hear the bombing and the fighting, the firing of gunfire really, really loud, really close. And it's pretty much whole day and night, and not just during the day. It's physical fighting, especially at night. And when I hear that loud explosion, I can really feel the suffering that is coming with that explosion. And I felt that the cells in my body is like pierced through. Because whenever we hear the explosion, my body is very tense. Even though we know that it's not near, but it's not very far. And it can misfire. I'm not worried so much about my safety, but when I hear that explosion, I just felt the immense suffering that is happening at that moment during the whole period until now. And I felt that I just have no desire to have any contact with anything outside of Israel. Even though I have messages from people asking me where I'm about, how my safety and everything. Even my family, I decide not to let them know where I am because they will worry. And I have to inform them. And I have to check with them. They have to check with me every day. And so I decide not to do that so that I can really, really focus where I am and with the people I am with. Because every day we offer something either online or in person with the people. And so I really want to offer all of my energy and my presence for the people there. And I find that it's really, really helped me to center myself and to come back to the moment. And so every day in the morning when I wake up, I either went to the in that village, they built a very beautiful silent room. And so when you go into that room, it's totally silent. You can do prayer, you can do sitting, you can do contemplation, you can do anything, but it's totally in silent. So some morning I would go there and I do sitting. And after that, I would do walking. And so in that way that I can really cultivate peace and calmness for myself so that I can be present for people. And so I find that this very, very helpful for me, not to have so much contact so that I can focus. And because I stayed in Israel during the war, so I have time to reflect and time to listen to the people, both Israelis and Palestinians. Because before the war broke out, we went to Palestine. We stayed there almost 2 weeks. And so we also have the opportunity to listen to them. And we have one Sunday morning, we have a session with Palestinian women, most of them are Muslims. And when we're going into the refugee camp, we also met children, people of old age, and they don't know what we are and who we are because we look very strange. So we explain to them we are Buddhist monks and nuns. But I think for many children, they really, really have no understanding why we have to shave our head. So we also have chance to listen to the Palestinians. We also witness their suffering. We also listen to the Palestinians. We also really see the suffering. And so whenever we are with any group, we practice mindfulness, we practice collective togetherness, we practice walking, we practice eating, we practice deep listening, we practice deep relaxation, and so that we can hold a space for everybody. We also have 2 sessions that we have dialogue between Palestinians and Israelis, and it's very powerful. People express the wish to have peace. And it seems that it's so difficult to have peace. And I see a lot of brotherhood and sisterhood in these gatherings. Even though geographically people live separately in 2 totally different zones. But when they come together, when they practice together, they see themselves as human beings. They don't see as a totally different group of people that have no connection with each other. During the day of mindfulness for the Israeli, we share about the practice of 5 mindfulness trainings. In this evening, I don't think I have time to go into that, but I can really see that the collective energy of mindfulness will protect our body and our consciousness because of the way we live our daily life, the way we live and the way we consume unmindfully. We really, really inflict suffering upon our body and our consciousness. And so practicing the 5 mindfulness training help us to gain this awareness and this understanding of the suffering through our speech, our action, and our thinking. Like the first mindfulness training, Reverence for Life, witnessing the killing, the war, the abducting, abducting of people. It's really, really something that is intense. It's very intense. But in our brain, there is a scientist called the mirror neural. That means that when we have a feeling when we have an emotion or a feeling, this brain cell will fire. Or when we see other people having feeling or weakness or experiencing feeling or emotion, our brain cell also fire. And so this is the scientists, they call empathy neuron. And this is a very basic neuron that hardwired into our brain. And it is a very basic foundation of compassion. Because when we experience feeling or emotion, or when we witness somebody else having feeling or emotion, we feel moved. We feel that pain. Just like hearing the bombing, hearing the gunfire, we just feel this immense suffering and the pain that people have to endure, even though we don't directly be infected by the war, but we feel pain, we feel suffering in our body, in our mind. And this is exactly because of this empathy neuron in our brain. And so it's a very basic foundation of building compassion. And so with a lot of killing and being there, seeing the hatred, the rage in the Hamas, in the Israelis, that somehow they cannot use the human language to communicate, to dialogue. And the only thing that they can communicate in dialogue is the bombing, the fighting. It is really, really something that it take a whole of our sense, take everything of our sense, of our being, to try to understand and to find the way that help us to be ourselves and to be with all the people around us who suffer tremendously. We will not have time to go into these trainings, but these 5 mindfulness training we practice in our daily life, they are the protection that protect our body and our consciousness. Because in every human being, we have some kinds of pain, unresolved conflict that really, really affect the way we deal with people around us in our life. So in order to understand people, in order to understand ourselves, we have to open up a channel of communication, which is the 4 training: deep listening and mindful speech. Very often we hear people ask, when my partner's trauma come out, how do I live with that? And so when we have questions like that, it's really an invitation for us to look deeply into ourselves and into the people we are living with. Do we have time to be with each other, to have time to listen to each other, to have time to understand each other? In order to understand the people's suffering and trauma, we have to really listen to their stories and the systems that affect them, that influence them. So when we all on the trip to Palestine and Israel, we practice nonviolence. The brother already shared a little bit at the beginning. But the practice of nonviolence is something that we need to practice daily. It's not that when the war broke out, conflicts happened, then we practice nonviolence. But the nonviolence is a practice, the daily practice that we have to have the time and the discipline to practice. Personally, for me, because I live in a community, I practice, we have the schedule every day. We have morning sitting, we have walking, it's a whole community. And so it's instilled in me this kind of discipline that I can go back to myself daily. And I have the discipline to practice. So when I'm in the war zone, the conflict, I can really, really offer my present, my mindfulness, and my peace to the people. It's not that when we go there, and we just share with you what we practice, but we cannot really generate that energy. And so non-violence is something we can see with our practice of speaking, of listening, of walking. Because when we think of non-violence, we think that we will go out there, we will combat the violence out there. But actually, the work of healing within us, the hatred, the violence, the discrimination, is in us, in our consciousness, equally important for us to practice, to heal ourselves before we can offer this healing and this peace to the people outside. And so I think this evening, the theme of this gathering is peace and healing. Brother, share a little bit also about the healing. Because when we practice the 5 mindfulness training, we look into our consciousness, we recognize all these elements of hatred, of violence, of discrimination, that is lie very deep in our consciousness. And so our happiness, our peace depend on how we transform our consciousness. And this work is not about going to the retreat for 7 days, then we will be able to transform our consciousness. But this is really a work of our life to transform our consciousness, because the society that we are living in, the environment that we're living in, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of discrimination. So without transforming our own consciousness, there's very little hope that we can transform the collective consciousness of our society. And without transforming the collective's consciousness of the society, we will continue to have conflict and war. We also have a chance to go to the Dead Sea. We thought that we will do a little swimming, but actually we could not. It is too salty, and that doesn't matter how much we try, we kept floating. Because the salinity in the water is 10 times the salinity in the sea, in a normal sea. And that's how it is a Dead Sea. There's nothing can live in that water. And so when I was floating in the water, I see myself, I don't need to make any effort at all in order to float. And actually, I was having a nap when I was floating. I was surprised that I totally slept for I don't know how long, I don't remember, but I woke up, I still floating. Then I see that in the Sangha, when we practice together as a Sangha, there are people who practice very solidly, very stable. But we also have people who just newly joined the Sangha, who just practice. But together, we add up our solidity, our peace, our happiness, and our joy. And that's how the Sangha can keep us afloat. Doesn't matter how much we suffer as individual, but when we join the Sangha, we practice with the Sangha, that collective energy of the Sangha will keep us afloat. And I see in our time, in the time of conflict, of war like right now, the Sangha is something that we all need to take refuge in. And it's a refuge place for many other people to take refuge in. Because each one of us, with our own practice, we contribute ourselves to that pool of energy. And collectively, together, we can keep everybody afloat. So I think I will stop my sharing now. that we can have more other activities. Thank you for listening.
Dear sister, I'll invite the sound of the bell just for us to absorb your beautiful words of wisdom and deep sharing, which has touched us deeply. Thank you, sister. Firstly, before I hand over to Noah Hamlet for a guided meditation with Sister Lukmim, I just want to apologize. We're running a little over time, but I think the beauty that's unfolding, the energy, the sharings from the monastics, and the practices that are coming through really helps us. So I hope you stay with us till the end. So I'd like to hand over to Sister Luknim, who has really inspired this event, and also one of the monastics who's been several times to Israel and Palestine. Thank you, sister.
Dear Thai, dear community, so now this is a time for all of us here in the hall and over there at home to practice together sitting meditation. So I would like to invite you to go back to your posture. Make sure that you are upright and relaxed at the same time, and that you can slowly become aware of your body, the gravity of your body on this earth, and perhaps also let everything that we have just heard from Brother Phapu and Sister Harmony just sink down in our store consciousness. We don't need to think about it. We will practice sitting meditation together for 10 minutes, and I will offer some guidance so we can collectively generate peace, love, and understanding. We will start with 3 sounds of the bell. Breathing in, I come back to my breath. Breathing out, I come back to my breath. In out. Breathing in, I am aware of my body from the top of my head to my feet. Breathing out, I relax my body, allowing it to be the way it is, and gently bring care, peace, and love in every cell of my body. Aware of body, relaxing with peace and love. Relaxing my body, I may become aware of some tensions present in the body. Caring for this body with tenderness, I allow the tensions to be there, and I gently deepen my level of breathing to calm my body and ease the tensions. Relaxing body, calming body. feeling calmed in my body and anchored in this present moment, spacious in my breath. I become aware of the difficult emotions, feelings present in me and present in the world right now. Breathing out deeply and gently, I embrace and calm those emotions with love and peace. Aware of emotions in a calmed body, embracing with love and peace. Aware of the energy of peace and love present in me right now, I breathe in and I smile to life. When I breathe out, I send those energy of peace and love to the world and to the people who are stuck, whether in war zones or in views of separation and discrimination. Touching peace and love within myself, sending peace and love to all. When I breathe in, I become aware of all the beautiful seeds that are present in all of us. Seeds of love, joy, hope, forgiveness, understanding, compassion, inclusiveness. When I breathe out, I take refuge in my vow to find many ways in my daily life to water those beautiful seeds in me and in others, and not allow suspicion, discrimination, polarization, and violence to take over. I have the power to choose. Aware of the beautiful seeds that are present in all of us, choosing to water peace, love, here and now, at every moment. Thank you, dear friends, for your practice here in the hall, and my brothers and sisters, and at home. I hope you were able to touch a lot of peace, love, and spaciousness in your heart and mind. And I pass it over to Rahina.
Thank you, sister. Thank you, Lower Hamlet. I wondered whether after our meditation, whether it would be possible to have Brother Fapham, who has also been part of the recent delegation to Palestine and Israel, to actually share with us in a few minutes perhaps the practice of how, when all of this seems so overwhelming, the pain and suffering around us, how do we practice cultivating joy, care, and nourishment? Thank you.
Okay, so hello, dear friends. I know that you're there and I am not seeing you, but I think you are seeing me, and that is okay. So, yeah, we've just been back for a month, and I do have to say, this is quite an experience to be in, and this is quite an experience that people are in right now. People who are currently living in Israel are having quite a different experience. The people living in Gaza, in Palestine, in the rest of the world, all are having different experiences. And I think all of us are also wanting to find solutions and wanting to get answers. But what I see, that wherever you are, there is one thing that all of us want. And it is incredibly simple, and yet it is so often something that we neglect in order to find a solution. And it's very simple. Is to honor the pain that we are currently feeling. And in order to have the capacity to feel the pain that we are currently feeling, we need to have a refuge in ourselves. So how can we cultivate that refuge in a situation where there seems to be no hope? There seems to be a lot of uncertainty. I can tell you, when a war breaks out, uncertainty is the thing that you will be consuming continuously. But you can ask a very simple question. How is my earlobe experiencing this war right now? If I go to my earlobe and really check in this moment, how is it concerned with the news, with the things that are going around me? My earlobe is just busy being my earlobe. And the moment when I become aware of something as simple as that, something as simple as a present moment experience that is real for me right now, something that I can touch in my experience right now, then that in itself will allow a little feeling of joy to come up. And when we are suffering deeply, we might refuse to do that because we go like, no, this is not important. I am suffering right now. I need to find a solution. But when we go to something as simple as an earlobe or a step, when we are feeling our weight shifting from our left side of our body to our right side of our body, when we're practicing walking like that, we are touching something that is even also very real in this moment. And we can get out of this kind of constantly watering these seeds of suffering in our thinking and with our views. So we can feel if there is any resistance to the practice like that. We can say hello to that feeling. Hello, my feeling. I know you are there. While I was walking in Bethlehem and I was hearing the bombs fall, my body was reacting. It could feel it there in my diaphragm. It was contracted. And so I could go to my diaphragm and say, hello, my diaphragm. I know you're there. Thank you for letting me know that I might not be safe in this moment. Just acknowledging something simple like that already allowed me to. Thank you, translator. She's doing the noises as well. And at that moment, I told my suffering, dear suffering, I will pay very well attention, but I need to be really present right now in order to have all of my awareness available in order to react to what is truly around me right now. And if we check right now, where am I sitting? Yes, there is a war going on somewhere around me. But maybe in this room where you are right now, what is really happening around you right now? If we really take in where we are right now, what is it that we can take a refuge in right now? If we make that choice to take a refuge in the supportive conditions that are around us, then actually we have a refuge to be in, so that from that space we can go to our suffering without being overwhelmed. And Thai Siddhas, a good practitioner in any moment, is capable of generating a feeling of joy and happiness because these conditions are always around you. So it is a very seemingly simple practice, but it is incredibly powerful. Just going to your hands and recognizing, my hands are doing very well right now. Or in your feet. Going to your body like that, finding the places where you feel safe enough. When we take refuge in those things, we strengthen this capacity to coming back over and over again to the things that are most supportive to our well-being. And so we have then also the capacity to start being aware of, like, and what kind of thinking have I now been thinking over and over and over and over again? And has that been helpful? Because especially when we're suffering, it's so easy to go back to the news and consuming these things, getting certainty where there is no certainty. If you want certainty, go to your experience of your little toe. Gives you very much certainty right there in this moment on how it is doing. So the present moment is a refuge for us if we know how to take refuge in it. So ask yourself, if you're struggling, if you're suffering, what are you taking refuge in? Because it might very well be that we actually think that we are embracing our suffering. So you might think that we are embracing it, but we might actually be feeding it. So check with yourself. What are you taking refuge in? So good luck with your practice.
Brother Nimtuan, the choir mic.
Thank you, dear brother.
We will do the same.
We will have a peace song before we do the final closing statements. So I invite you to just close our eyes and touch an object of the earth or our hearts and remind ourselves for us to be alive today across the last 500 years. We have each come here today with 32,766 genetic ancestors, not to mention the lineages of our spiritual and land ancestors. All of them different religions, languages, different continents. So we call on this energy of all our ancestors to help us cultivate peace and compassion. We call on the energy for harmony from all people and species alive in this moment. And as we sing for peace, may this energy help us transform what needs to be transformed for justice, peace, and love in the world. And as we sing, let us set our intention to work towards transforming the violence, hatred, and delusion that still lies in our deep consciousness of this society. And may we transform the world to be a better one for future generations, and may they have safety, love, peace, and joy. We ask the earth and our loving hearts to support us in this.
Dear Thai, dear beloved community, we would like to invite everyone, so to our dear friends from the 10 directions, to join in this song. And I think many of you already know this. And if you don't, it's quite simple. It's I've got peace like a river in my soul, like a rolling, rolling river, like a rolling, rolling river. And then also I've got love, I've got tears, and I've got joy. So please join in once the melody becomes familiar.
thank you very much for being present for this collective energy of peace, love, and just breathing together and being together. It's a wonderful moment that we will all remember, and hopefully we can also bring this energy back tonight or during the day if you are living in the US, for example, and to continue to nourish peace and love and understanding at every moment. So thank you for the Plum Village UK Sangha, for the Ireland Rainbow Sangha, and for Buddhists across tradition to invite us to lead this evening session, and I think it was really needed for all of us. Thank you. Thank you, Regina, and a special woo for our sound tech team. The sisters have worked very hard, and nothing would have been possible without the crew behind the scenes. So thank you, sisters. And the translator, Dee for the French and Nando for the Spanish. Thank you. Back to you, Regina.
So dear Thai, dear beloved monastics, I'd like to actually, on behalf of us all, thank you for the grace and beauty, for taking time in France, for taking time to offer this much needed spaciousness, wisdom, and all the practices, and for your unceasing service to peace. A lotus to you, Sister Luknim, who was the real spark behind this event. A deep bow to you. A bow of thanks also to Tuan, Cassia, Anna, Katie, and the wonderful, wonderful, brilliant sisters of Lower Hamlet, and our beautiful translators, and so many others who have worked so much behind the scenes to make this event possible. And to all of you who have attended, some of you who have left, may the energy of you continue, and a deep bow to you for your commitment to make healing, transformation, and cultivating peace in the world. A real deep bow to you. As we've said earlier on, this event continues the many engaged actions for peace, from writing letters to President Biden and to Rishi Sunak. Plum Village UK and internationally, we have a host of regular events from now moving forward to cultivate and to help us cultivate peace. We will share shortly the link for the daily peace sits in the chat. And please look at the website of Plum Village UK and the mothership Plum Village France for any announcements and events to help us support peace and cultivate peace in ourselves and in the world. I'd like to end with a dedication of merit. And may we all breathe and touch our hearts. And with this dedication, may we all awaken to understanding the roots of suffering and afflictions, and act to transform the suffering into the action of love, compassion, and understanding for peace and justice. May the wisdom of the Noble Eightfold Path of right thought, right speech, right action, right mindfulness, and right insight lead us into cultivating peace in ourselves and in the world. May the energy of openness, care, and commitment to peace we have generated today extend across time and space, encompassing all beings in the past, in the present, and in the future. May we all blossom an atom of courage to love without fear, hold the suffering of the world in compassion, and generate the wisdom to see the humanity in the other. May the drop of peace we've cultivated today encompass the world so that all beings can live in harmony with one another on this precious earth. Sister Luknim, may I ask you to invite the bell, the large bell from Lower Hamlet, to reverberate in our energy. Thank you. Thank you, dear friends. Good night, good afternoon, good morning, and a special thanks to all our friends from Israel and Palestine who joined this event today. It's early morning to you, so thank you for being present.
So we can bow to each other.